کہ حضور علیہ السلام نے فرمایا یہ جو مقبول اور محبوب بندے ہیں جنہیں اللہ اپنے فضل سے ان کا انتخاب فرماتا ہے اور پیدائش کے وقت ہی سے یہ لوگ وہ جوہر اور صلاحیت لے کر دنیا میں پیدا ہوتے ہیں، اور جب وہ اس دنیا میں آتے ہیں تو اب ہمارے لیے کیا حکم ہے؟ حدیث میں آتا ہے کہ پھر تم ان سے محبت کرو، اور جب تم ان سے محبت کرو گے تو یہ تمہارا محبت کرنا تمہیں دنیا کی زندگی میں بھی کام دے گا اور قبر کے اندھیروں میں بھی کام دے گا اور حشر کے میدان میں بھی کام دے گا۔ کیوں کہ قرآن میں آتا ہے 25ویں بارے میں اللہ فرماتا ہے الاخلاء یومئذ بعضهم لبعض عدو الا المتقین۔ یہ سارے بہن بھائی، یہ رشتے، یہ ناطے جو دنیا میں ہم قائم کرتے ہیں، فرمایا ایک وقت آئے گا جب قیامت کے دن یہ سارے رشتے ختم ہو جائیں گے۔ باری تعالیٰ پھر کون سا رشتہ باقی رہے گا؟ فرمایا ایک ہی رشتہ ہے جو اللہ کے نیک بندے سے اللہ کے لیے محبت کی جائے۔ وہ بندہ کس صدی میں ہوا، کس زمانے میں ہوا، کس وقت میں ہوا، قطع نظر اس کے کہ صدیوں پہلے وہ اس دنیا میں آیا، آج کوئی اللہ کا بندہ اس سے اس لیے محبت کرتا ہے کہ وہ اللہ کا ولی تھا، قیامت کے دن اس کا بھی اس کو جزا ملے گی۔ اور حدیث میں آتا ہے کہ حضور علیہ السلام فرماتے ہیں، فرمایا لو ان عبدین تحابا فی اللہ عز وجل واحد فی المشرق وآخر فی المغرب لجمع اللہ بینہما یوم القیامہ ویقول ھذا الذی کنت تحبہ فیہا۔ حدیث میں آتا ہے دو بندے ہوں گے، ایک مشرق میں رہتا ہے ایک مغرب میں، اس مشرق میں رہنے والے کو مغرب والے سے یا مغرب میں رہنے والے کو مشرق والے سے فقط اس لیے محبت ہوگی کہ وہ اللہ کا ولی ہے، وہ اللہ کا نیک بندہ ہے، وہ اللہ کا مقبول ہے، وہ دین کا خادم ہے، وہ دین کے احیاء و تجدید کے لیے دنیا میں آیا ہے، وہ اس سے محبت کرے گا، پیار کرے گا، مگر وہ اسے مل نہیں سکے گا۔ ایک تو مسافت زیادہ ہے، سب وہ مشرق میں وہ مغرب میں کافی دور ہے، کوئی وسائل نہیں ہے ملاقات کے، یا اس کا زمانہ جدا ہے، وہ کتنی صدیاں پہلے دنیا میں آیا، یہ بعد میں آیا، پر محبت ہوگی اس لیے کہ وہ اللہ کا نیک بندہ ہے۔ اس دنیا میں ملاقات نہیں ہوئی، حدیث میں آتا ہے کہ یہ دنیا ختم ہو جائے گی، پھر قیامت کے دن اللہ پاک فرمائے گا اس بندے کو اٹھا کے اس نیک بندے کے ساتھ کھڑا کر دے۔ سبحان اللہ۔ وہ محبت کرنے والا جب کھڑا ہوگا تو کبھی خود کو دیکھے گا، کبھی دادا صاحب کو دیکھے گا، کبھی خود کو دیکھے گا، مجدد الفسانی کو دیکھے گا، عرض کرے گا باری تعالیٰ یہ کیا، میں گناہگار، یہ نیکوکار، ہم دو کو ایک ساتھ کھڑا کیا گیا۔ اللہ فرمائے گا یہ اس لیے ہے کہ تو دنیا میں اس میرے بندے سے میری خاطر محبت کرتا تھا، دنیا میں مل نہیں سکا، آج میری غیرت ربوبیت کا تقاضا یہ ہے کہ تم دو کو اکٹھا کیا جائے۔ تو یہ محبت، اس کا ثمرہ، اس کا نتیجہ، اس کا پھل نہ صرف دنیا میں ملتا ہے بلکہ حشر کے میدان میں بھی ملتا ہے۔ اللہ ہمیں ان مقبولان الہی سے محبت کرنے کی توفیق عطا فرمائے۔ وما علینا الا البلاغ المبین۔ حضرت وہ چھوٹے کو جی نعت شریف پیش کرنے کے لیے، یہ چھوٹا بچہ چھوٹا نہیں ہوتا، نعت خوان ہم سے بڑا ہوتا ہے، تو وہ تشریف لاتے ہیں، کیا نام ہے؟ محمد عمر فاروق، وہ تشریف لاتے ہیں، نعت رسول مقبول صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم پیش کرتے ہیں۔
صلی اللہ علیہ یا رسول اللہ وسلم علیہ یا حبیب اللہ، صلی اللہ علیہ یا رسول اللہ وسلم علیہ یا حبیب اللہ۔
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألا إن أولياء الله لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم الأمين قال الله تبارك وتعالى في شان حبيبه مخبرا وآمرا إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ومولانا محمد وأصحاب سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم صلاة وسلاما عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا سيدي يا حبيب الله الصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا رحمة للعالمين وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا سيدي يا شفيع المذنبين. Alhamdulillah ta'ala, we are gathered here today to commemorate the lives and the works of two remarkable individuals, one of whom, through his writing, through his teachings, defended the ideological borders of Islam, and the other who, through his military service, defended the actual and physical borders of Islam. And both of them did so with the greatest of integrity. That is one of the key points of both of today's discussions. Imam Ahmad Raza, rahimahullah ta'ala, his services in defending the Aqidah of the Ahl-Us-Sunnah wal Jama'ah rendered with the greatest of integrity and respect. And Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi, rahimahullah ta'ala, someone who again with the greatest of integrity rendered his services in the military field, and not only that, a true Sufi in his nature, a student of Sayyidina Ghaus al-Azam Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani rahimahullah ta'ala, and the civility that he brought to those conflicts that the world remembers as the Crusades, the amnesty and the compassion that he showed after the conquest of Al-Quds, all of those are a beacon of guidance for the entire world today. Imam Ahmad Raza, rahimahullah ta'ala, his defense of the Aqidah of the Sahaba, and he became an ambassador for the meaning and interpretation of this verse of the Quran, فَإِنْ آمَنُوا بِمِثْلِ مَا آمَنْتُمْ بِهِ فَقَدْ اهْتَدَوْا, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that if they believe the way that you believe, then they will be guided. So Allah is talking about disbelievers here, saying that if those disbelievers believe the way you have believed, بِمِثْلِ مَا آمَنْتُمْ بِهِ, so the likes, so they believe in the likes of that which you have believed in. That's literal translation, interpreted as if they believe the way that you have believed. Who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala making an example here? Who is Allah referring to when He says that they believe like you? This is the companions and the Sahaba of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's saying to them, the disbelievers, that if they believe the way that you the Sahaba have believed, then they will have achieved true guidance. Which tells us that the standard for Iman and faith are the Sahaba, the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is the dominant characteristic of Imam Ahmad Raza rahimahullah ta'ala and his works, through his work in the field of Aqidah, whether it was his work in the field of Hadith, in the field of Usul Hadith, in the field of Fiqh, or in the field of Tafsir and translation, tarjuma of the Quran Majid. In every field that he worked in, he upheld the beliefs of the Sahaba, the beliefs of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is a remarkable service that he's done. If it was not for this service of his, we would not be following the belief system that we follow today. We would not refer to ourselves as Ahl-Us-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. In particular, the people of the subcontinent would have been consumed by the poison of Wahhabism, a poison which has become absolutely apparent to the world today. This cancer that the entire world, not just this ummah, is suffering from, is now open and clear for everyone to see. There was a time when people would say, everyone, they're all fine, they're all believers, سارے ٹھیک ہیں, سب کلمہ پڑھتے ہیں, تب کہ سب مسلمان ہیں. آج دنیا کے سامنے یہ بات بالکل اچھی طرح اور بالکل کلیئر واضح ہو چکی ہے کہ اہل سنت والجماعت اور دیگر فرق باطلہ میں فرق کیا ہے. آج وہ وقت آ چکا ہے کہ اب آپ صرف یہ بات نہیں کہہ سکتے کہ ہم مسلمان ہیں. اب آپ کو تفریق کرنا پڑے گی. اب کون سے مسلمان ہیں؟ وہ مسلمان ہیں جو امن کے علمبردار ہیں, یا وہ مسلمان ہیں کہ جو نہتے لوگوں کا, بے گناہ بچوں کا خون بہانے پر تلے ہوئے ہیں؟ یہ آپ کو اب تفریق کرنی پڑے گی. کبھی یہ زمانہ ہم نے دیکھا ہے کہ جب کوئی آدمی بات کرنا چاہے تو اس کا منہ بند کرا دیا جاتا تھا کہ چھوڑے نہیں, یہ مولویوں کے رولے ہیں, یہ علماء کا مسئلہ ہے, سارے ٹھیک ہیں. آپ بتائیں اگر سارے ٹھیک ہیں تو آج یہ جو داعش ساری دنیا کے لیے عذاب بنی ہوئی ہے, تو وہ بھی تو کہتے ہیں ہم مسلمان ہیں, مسلمانی کا دعویٰ تو وہ بھی کرتے ہیں. اب یہ بات کہیں کہ سارے ٹھیک ہیں, اب کہیں ہم بھی ان میں سے ہیں. اب وہ وقت, لیکن افسوس کے ساتھ اب وہ وقت اس وقت آیا جب اتنی جانیں بے گناہ ضائع ہو گئی, جب یہ ناسور اتنا زیادہ پھیل چکا ہے کہ اب اس کا کہیں خاتمہ نظر نہیں آتا. اور حقیقت بات یہ ہے کہ فکر رضا اعلیٰ حضرت امام احمد رضا رحمت اللہ تعالی علیہ کی وہ سوچ اور وہ فلسفہ, وہ محبت رسول صلی اللہ تعالی علیہ وسلم, وہ ہی اس فکر کا سب سے بڑا علاج ہے. کیونکہ یہ لوگ وہ ہیں جنہوں نے, علامہ اقبال نے جن کی سوچ اور فکر کی عکاسی یوں کی تھی کہ یہ فاقہ کش جو موت سے ڈرتا نہیں ذرا, روح محمدی اس کے بدن سے نکال دو. Dr. Iqbal said this. He said about the general Muslim, right? This poor Muslim doesn't have any clothes to cover his entire body, doesn't have food to feed himself twice a day. This poor Muslim who does not accept defeat, he doesn't fear death. Ye faqa kash jo maut se darta nahi zara. This poor, hungry Muslim who doesn't fear death, how do you get rid of him? And he said, and he alerted us at the ploy that was being adopted at that time, which was what? Ruh-e Muhammadi iske badan se nikal. Take out the soul of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, symbolizing the love of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the attachment with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Remove that attachment from his heart, and that will be his death. He may walk on the earth, He may be living and breathing, but remove that love of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and that will be his death. جب آپ اس کی وہ روح محمدی اس کے جسم سے نکال دو گے تو وہ زندہ لگے گا، زمین پر چلتا پھرے گا، چلتا نظر آئے گا، کھاتا پیتا ہوگا، لیکن حقیقت میں وہ مر چکا ہوگا۔ اصل حیات وہ کیا ہے؟ یہ وہی روح محمدی ہے، وہ نسبت رسول صلی اللہ تعالی علیہ وسلم ہے، جس کو امام احمد رضا رحمۃ اللہ تعالی علیہ نے اجاگر کیا۔ آج افسوس کے ساتھ یہ پرابلم کیوں ہے، یہ وجہ اور اس پرابلم کی وجہ کیا ہے، اس مصیبت کی وجہ کیا ہے؟ وجہ یہ ہے کہ ہم اصل حقیقت بھول چکے ہیں۔ میرے جو بزرگ یہاں تشریف فرما ہیں انہیں وہ زمانہ بھی اچھی طرح یاد ہوگا جب ہمارے اکابر علماء کرام نے آپ کو وہ باتیں یاد کرائی تھی، بتایا تھا کہ فلاں شخص گستاخ ہے، اس نے یہ گستاخی کی ہے، بتایا ہوگا، اور آپ کو ساری گستاخیاں گنوائی ہوگی، بتایا ہوگا کہ ہمارا اصل نزاع ان سے میلاد کا جھگڑا نہیں ہے، 11ویں کا جھگڑا نہیں ہے، ایصال ثواب کا جھگڑا نہیں ہے، نہیں کرتے تو نہ کریں، اصل جو ہمارا جھگڑا ان کا ہے وہ سرکار دو عالم صلی اللہ تعالی علیہ وسلم کی محبت اور احترام نبوت اور رسالت ہے، جس کو انہوں نے پامال کیا ہے۔ اب یہ وقت آ چکا ہے کہ لوگ اسے بھول چکے ہیں، لوگوں کو یاد نہیں ہے، یہ خصوصاً جو نوجوان طبقہ ہے۔ میں آپ کو دعوت دیتا ہوں، بزرگوں کو آپ خود پوچھیں، اپنی اولادوں سے پوچھیں، آپ کے آگے پیچھے جو نوجوان ہیں ان سے بلا پوچھیں کہ بتائیں ان میں اور ہم میں فرق کیا ہے۔ اگر یہ بات نہ آئے کہ ہم میلاد مناتے ہیں، یہ بھی کہہ دیں تو یہ بھی بہت بڑی بات ہے کہ ہم میلاد مناتے ہیں، یہ نہیں کرتے۔ اگر اس طرح کی باتیں نہ آئیں تو پھر مجھے بتائیں، اور آپ دیکھیں، نوٹ کریں کہ ان میں سے کتنے لوگ ہیں جو اصل میں جانتے ہیں کہ اصل بات اور اصل معاملہ کیا ہے۔ اصل بات تو یہ ہے کہ کسی نے نبی کریم صلی اللہ تعالی علیہ وسلم کے علم کو پاگل اور مجنون کے علم کے ساتھ معاذ اللہ تشبیہ کیا۔ اصل نزاع یہ ہے، یہ نہیں ہے کہ میلاد نہیں کرتے، اصل نزاع یہ ہے کہ کسی نے سرکار دو عالم صلی اللہ تعالی علیہ وسلم کی بعد نبی آنے پر آپ کی خاتمیت میں فرق نہیں مانا۔ یہ اصل نزاع جو اللہ سبحانہ تعالیٰ کی بارگاہ میں جو گستاخیاں کی ہیں، اللہ سبحانہ تعالیٰ کے لیے جسم اور جسمانیات ثابت کی ہیں، اللہ سبحانہ تعالیٰ کی طرف جھوٹ اور کذب کی ان لوگوں نے نسبت کی ہے، اللہ سبحانہ تعالیٰ کی بارگاہ تک گستاخی کی ہے۔ اور اصل نزاع کیا ہے؟ اصل نزاع یہ ہے، میں حقیقت سے دعوے سے آپ کو کہتا ہوں، یہ عبارت آپ نکال دیں، کسی بھی نوجوان کے سامنے یہ عبادت رکھیں، اگر اس کی تائید کرے تو پھر مجھے آگے بڑھو۔ یہاں کا خصوصاً جو یہاں کا نوجوان ہے، یہاں پڑا ہوا ہے، ان کے دماغ اس طرح اسکول کالج یونیورسٹیز میں ٹرین ہوئے کہ جب ان کے سامنے آپ دلیل رکھتے ہیں تو وہ دلیل پرکھنے کی خود ان کے اندر صلاحیت ہے۔ آپ ان کے سامنے ذرا وہ عبارت رکھیں نا کہ جو نبی کریم نماز کے اندر جو آدمی گدے اور بیل کا تصور کر لے اس کی نماز پر کوئی اثر نہیں آتا، اس سے بھی بدتر چیزوں کی نشاندہی کیا، میں وہ الفاظ دوہرا نہیں سکتا۔ جو بزرگ احباب جانتے ہیں وہ انہیں پتہ ہے میں کیا کہہ رہا ہوں، لیکن گدے اور بیل کی نسبت کر کے کہ ان کا تصور نماز میں آئے تو کوئی خلل واقع نہیں ہوتا، اور سرکار دو عالم صلی اللہ تعالی علیہ وسلم کا تصور نماز میں نہیں آنا چاہیے۔ اب بتائیں، آپ کا اگر کسی کا دل یہ گوارا کرتا ہے تو پھر کہیں سب برابر ہیں، لیکن اب ایک اور نظریے سے نعرہ تکبیر، نعرہ رسالت، نعرہ رسالت، علماء اہل سنت، الحمدللہ ہماری سعادت اور خوشبختی کہ ہمارے پہلے مہمان گرامی قدر جو ایک عظیم علمی خانوادے کے چشم و چراغ ہیں، کسی تعارف کے محتاج نہیں، حضرت علامہ پیر زین الاقطاب صدیقی صاحب دامت برکاتہ العالیہ وہ تشریف لا چکے ہیں انشاءاللہ العزیز۔ میں ابھی جو بات جملہ کہہ رہا تھا وہ جملہ ختم کر کے تو حضرت سے درخواست کروں گا کہ اپنا بیان شروع فرمائیں اور اپنے مواعظ حسنہ سے ہمیں مستفید فرمائیں۔ حضرات میں یہ بات کہہ رہا تھا کہ اب وہ وقت آ چکا ہے کہ اب آپ یہ بات نہیں کہہ سکتے کہ سب مسلمان ہیں اور سب ٹھیک ہیں۔ اب آپ کو شناخت کرنی پڑے گی، کرانی پڑے گی، اور یہ شناخت اب آپ کو بطور مجبوری، بامر مجبوری کرانا پڑے گی۔ اب گلے میں آن پڑا ہے تو پھر آپ کو جو ہے نا وہ اس کا حل کرنا پڑے گا۔ اب اگر آپ شناخت نہیں کراتے تو پھر آپ کو خود نقصان ہے، اس لیے اب لوگ شناخت کرا رہے ہیں۔ ہمارے اکابرین نے ہمیں اس مصیبت سے ہماری جان چھڑانے کے لیے صدیوں سے ہمیں اس کا حل بتایا ہوا ہے۔ افسوس کہ ہم وہ حل اپنا نہ سکے، اب جب حالات ہمیں اس پر مجبور کر رہے ہیں تو اب ہم انہیں اپنانے پر آ گئے۔ تو میں حقیقت بات یہ کر رہا تھا کہ اپنی نوجوان نسل تک یہ پیغام پہنچائیں۔ بزرگوں سے میری یہ درخواست ہے، آپ نے وہ زمانہ دیکھا ہے، حضرت کے والد گرامی مناظر اسلام حضرت علامہ مولانا عبد الوہاب صدیقی صاحب رحمۃ اللہ تعالی علیہ، کون نہیں جانتا انہیں؟ پھر آپ کے دادا جان مناظر اعظم حضرت علامہ مولانا محمد عمر اچھوی صاحب رحمۃ اللہ تعالی علیہ، انہیں کون نہیں جانتا؟ اور میں یقین سے کہتا ہوں کہ مجھے وثوق سے یہ بات میں کہہ سکتا ہوں کہ جو ہمارے بزرگ یہاں بیٹھے ہوئے ہیں ان میں سے اکثریت نے یقیناً ان دونوں ہستیوں کی زیارت بھی کی ہوگی، ان کے ملفوظات بھی سنے ہوں۔ آپ اس ٹریننگ سے گزر چکے ہیں، ہمارے اکابرین نے آپ کو پڑھایا ہے، آپ کو بتایا ہے کہ یہ فرق ہے۔ انہوں نے یہ نہیں بتایا آپ کو کہ ہمارا بنیادی فرق میلاد اور 11ویں اور ایثار ثواب اور یہ ہے۔ اصل نزاع ہے اور جو جہاں سے جو ہمارے لیے بات قابل برداشت اور قابل قبول نہ ہوئی وہ ان لوگوں کی گستاخیاں ہیں۔ گستاخ رسول کوئی بھی ہو وہ ہم میں سے نہیں ہو سکتا۔ حقیقت بات یہ ہے، اس بات کو نوجوانوں تک پہنچانے کی اشد ضرورت ہے، جو یہ بات سمجھ بیٹھے کہ ہر کوئی ہم جیسا ہے۔ جو سرکار دو عالم صلی اللہ تعالی علیہ وسلم کا محب اور مطیع ہے وہ ہماری آنکھوں کی ٹھنڈک ہے، ہمارے سروں کا تاج ہے، اور جو نبی پاک صلی اللہ تعالی علیہ وسلم کا گستاخ ہے ہمارا اس سے کوئی واسطہ نہیں۔ تو میں انتہائی ادب و احترام سے گزارش کروں گا اپنے مہمان گرامی قدر کو، وہ تشریف لاتے ہیں، نعرہ تکبیر و رسالت کی گونج میں اپنے مہمان گرامی قدر کا استقبال کریں۔ پلیز honor your guest with chants of takbir and risala, and I will not remain between you any longer. Nara takbir, nara risalat, nara risalat, ulama Ahl-Us-Sunnah.
نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين العارفين وعلى وأولياء أمتي وأمتي أجمعين. أما بعد فقد قال الله عز وجل في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد: يا داود إنا جعلناك خليفة في الأرض فاحكم بين الناس بالحق ولا تتبع الهوى فيضلك عن سبيل الله. صدق الله مولانا العظيم. وقال جل جلاله عم نواله في شأن حبيبه مخبرا وآمرا: من يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم وصل عليه. All praise be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who created this universe and gave this entire universe in the servitude of His most beloved Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Every single element of this universe is an ummati of our beloved Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. From the inception of this universe to the end of this universe, every aspect of it remains ummati of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Now, of course, then on that basis you can divide the ummah in many classifications. There's one classification of those who are living, those who are with knowledge, zawil uqul, ghair zawil uqul. There's different classifications of kinds of ummah. Plant is also an ummah of the Prophet ﷺ. Animals are also ummah. Angels are also ummah. Whatever is in this universe is part of the ummah. But when you look at the Quran from a global perspective, Allah says, "Kuntum khayra ummah." Oh, you humans, upon whom Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam came to deliver his message as a human to humans, you are the best of ummahs. Subhanallah. Now, this isn't something that is just for the fun of it. You're the best. You know, if I in this audience say, you are the best British people sitting here, of course I would say that to make you happy. But that would be exaggerating. Why? Because there's other good people around. To say you're the best, you have to put one group on one side and one group on the other and say, this is the best. If you look at it from a bird's eye point of view, in this whole ummah universe, the best of creation is the creation of the human being. This is not me speaking, this is the manufacturer speaking. Because manufacturer knows his product. He has before him all the products that he has created. And there is no one who knows his product better than the manufacturer. And in the Quran, the manufacturer talks and he says, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. There's angels, there's jinns, there's animals, there's plants, there's different forms of life. And then not only life that you know, time is an existence. Death is an existence. All of these are existence within this universe. But Allah says, Insan is the best of creation. Wow. And then from amongst Insan, the most classified and the most esteemed Insan are the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When we say Ummah, it means the human Ummah. There is, of course, others also. So, you must look at this from a global picture. In this whole universe, the best of creation is? You must think about this very carefully. Why not angels? And the question which must occupy your mind is, what is in human that is not in others? अगर अल्लाह अज़्ज़ा व जल ने इंसान को सबसे बेहतरीन मखलूक कहा, तो ये बहुत बड़ा सवाल पैदा होता है कि इंसान में वो चीज़ है क्या जिसकी वजह से ये सबसे बेहतरीन है? आखिर देखें ना, अगर आप लाइट फॉर लाइट देखें, मसलन मैं आपको एक बड़ी आसान मिसाल देता हूँ. If you compare, I'm just making this up. If you compare Samsung 7000 TV to the 8000 TV, say 8000 is better than 7000. Why? Because 7000 doesn't have the features of 8000. So you compare like for like. What features does it have? Allah is free from mubalagha. Allah mubalagha से पाक है. जब वो ये फरमाता है कि इंसान सबसे बेहतरीन, आसन, ये सब तफसील है, आसन, सबसे आसन मखलूक, उस खालिक व मालिक के सामने फरिश्ते भी थे, उस खालिक व मालिक के सामने जिन भी थे, उस मालिक व खालिक के सामने और भी बहुत सी मखलूकात थी जिनको हम नहीं भी जानते, लेकिन उसने इंसान को इतनी अजमत व फौकियत क्यों दी? पहली बात. और फिर इंसानों में से सबसे ज्यादा अजमत और फौकियत किसको दी? उम्मत मुहम्मदिया सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम. जब हम ये कहते हैं ना कि उम्मत मुहम्मदिया को फौकियत दी, तो फिर अंबिया कहाँ चले गए? अगर इंसानों में से उम्मत मुहम्मदिया सबसे अफजल है, तो फिर अंबिया कहाँ? दर हकीकत अंबिया अलैहिस्सलाम भी उम्मत मुहम्मदिया में ही शामिल है. तो इसमें कोई खारिज नहीं है, वो भी उम्मत मुहम्मदिया में शामिल है. लेकिन Allah's khitab, kuntum khayra ummah, you are the best ummah. So we have to ask ourselves a very important question. If we are the best, why are we the best? What have we done? What do we deserve to be called the best? I mean, if you look at our lifestyle and our life structures, in one hadith the Prophet ﷺ says, my ummah will like for like duplicate what Bani Israel did. All the perversions in Bani Israel will be in my ummah. All the atrocities which Bani Israel committed will be in my ummah. But of course, they were punished for their crimes. But my ummah, I have agreed with Allah, will not be punished for their crimes. Anyway, this is a separate issue. The question you must ask yourself is, why are we the best? If you look at us, if you take a snapshot of us, you will see what is in us that makes us the best. And is our being the best based on our conduct? Or Or is it based on our identity? बात समझ आ रही है ना? Is it based on the conduct or is it based on the identity? I often give an example. In South Africa they did an experiment. A cosmetic company produced a bar of soap. They took the same bar of soap that came from the same line. One, they rubbed it in a piece of paper and printed on there soap. And they put it on the marketplace. And on the other bar of soap, they wrapped it in paper and they put a picture of a Hollywood actress on it, and they said soap. And I don't need to tell you which one sold the most. Why? The soap is the same. The packaging has now changed. So people paid extra money not for the soap, for the packaging. So sometimes the actual content is the same, but because of the external identity, the value changes. You find the same fish in Bangladesh, you find the same fish in McDonald's. But the price of that fish in McDonald's is far more, because it's all about the packaging. So, is our superiority based on our conduct, or is it based on our packaging? Think very carefully. Is our superiority, kuntum khayra ummah, is it based on our conduct, or is it based on our packaging? Well, if you look at our conduct and compare our conduct to another ummah of the Prophet ﷺ, they are called angels. Angels, let's just look at their portfolio. They don't sin, they are kamil, they are perfect, they are obedient to Allah, they are never disobedient. Their CV stacks up far better than our CV. So, on what basis is it that we are the best? This is a very fundamental question you have to ask. Is it because of who we are inside, or is it based on our packaging? The answer, of course, is when you look at the Quran and Sunnah, you will realize it's the fact that and we didn't choose this ourselves, we had this honor bestowed upon us upon birth, that we were born into the ummah of Rasulullah. And that packaging is enough. That packaging is enough. Because we didn't earn this. Did anyone here earn to be a ummati of the Prophet? Most of you were born as Muslims. So, we didn't earn this title, but Allah gave us this privilege with this package. Now, because we are with this package, our conduct is the subject of questioning. But we do not rely on our conduct when we present ourselves in front of Allah. Why? Because we know our conduct will for sure fall short of the required level for us to stand in front of Allah and say, we've done a good job. I think that's safe. Rather than to say, no, the safest position is, which everyone should be agreed upon, is that there's nothing that we do. And if something goes wrong, and we, on the Day of Judgment, which most certainly when our deeds will be weighed up, it will go wrong. We know it's going to go wrong. The Prophet ﷺ said, don't worry. He announced on the mimbar, Shafa'ati li ahli al-kaba'ir. My shafa'at is for you, don't worry. I will be there for you on the Day of Judgment, and I will say to Allah, oh Allah, don't look at him and his deeds, look at me. Look at me. Bas theek hai, phir baat khatam, let's go home. Do what you like, मौजा करो, शफाअत दो. देखे ना, The Prophet ﷺ didn't say, maybe, maybe not. He said, Shafa'ati li ahlil kabair min ummati. My shafa'at is for my ummati. And not only saghira guna, small guna, kabira guna. So then let's just go and pack our bags. No matter whether we do good or bad, we're still going to end up in that position. But no, you see, the danger isn't to our conduct. Because a mu'min, and where there is true iman, when a mu'min commits a sin, he automatically does tawbah. He is inclined towards tawbah. But the risk is not on our conduct. The risk is on that packaging. On that you are kuntum khayra ummah. You are the best of ummah. Who? And what makes you part of the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? What qualifies you? Your iman. Iman hai to ummati hai na. Ummat ijabat. If you have iman, you're part of the ummah. And if you don't have iman, can Adolf Hitler stand on the day of judgment and say, I invoke the shafa'at of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Can he? Can Stalin? Why? Because to qualify, you have to firstly be in the... I need to know whether you're following this. ये कोई रस्मी गुफ्तगू नहीं है कि इधर की बात उधर की बात इकट्ठी करके चलो जी सुभानअल्लाह माशाअल्लाह काट दो. This requires you to think. What was I saying? MashaAllah. This is just to see if you're actually following or you're just sitting there saying subhanallah, mashallah. What was I saying? Yeah. So Hitler, because of Hitler, now you remember the point. Look, Hitler will not be entitled to shafa'at. Why? What is missing? Iman. Stalin will not be entitled to shafa'at. Why? Because? So Iman is that thing that gives us membership into kuntum khayra ummah. You are the best ummah. No Iman, you're not in the club. Everyone happy with that? Yeah. So how do we determine Iman? So Iman is that package. But how do we determine Iman? Iman is determined by the Aqidah which rests upon the Iman. Everyone following? Iman and the quality of Iman hinges on Aqidah. So our identity hinges upon our That is why in the history of Islam, Muslims, the non-Muslim has never been threatened by conduct. 5 नमाज छोड़ के आप 20 नमाज पढ़ें, दुश्मन को कोई परवाह नहीं. 1 महीने के रोजे छोड़ के आप 4 महीने के रखें, कोई पाबंदी नहीं. No one will stop you. दुश्मन ने जब भी इस्लाम पे हमला किया, मुसलमानों पे हमला किया, he attacked the package, the identity. He knew once you take the wrapping out, नमाज़ें चाहे जितने भी पढ़ते रहे, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. रोज़े चाहे जितने, and now you see people who call themselves Muslim, as Hazrat Maulana just said now. We can't just simply now say, oh yeah, we're Muslim. Why? Because there are people now today who call themselves Muslim, but they commit atrocities कि उन atrocities को देख के जानवर भी कहेंगे ये काम हम ना करें. And these people call themselves Muslims. If they were common criminals, then you could say, of course, they're gangsters. What do you expect from gangsters? But when someone says La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, call themselves a Muslim, his beard is up to his belly button, and then he commits actions that are worse than animals. So now you need to know that when you disturb the packaging, the product inside is of no. So it's the packaging that counts. It's the identity that counts. और दुश्मन ने 1400 साल में जब जहां इस्लाम पे हमला किया तो आमान पे हमला नहीं किया, आइडेंटिटी पे हमला किया. The enemy has always attacked the identity of Islam, and that is our identity of Iman and Aqidah. And we think we should just be relaxed. We're Muslims, that's enough. But no. Now the West is saying to us, for us, if you call yourself simply a Muslim, you are on our hit list. And we, although we have freedom of thought, freedom of speech, freedom of movement, but we will curtail all these freedoms in the name of security, in the name of national security. Why? Because there are people who read the same kalima as you, they read the same namaz as you, they fast in the same month as you, they do the same hajj as you. They call themselves Muslims, and look what they do. How do we know that you are not going to be the same? And we say, oh no, we're very peace-loving people, we're very nice people, we're very good people. Say, yeah, whatever, we've heard it all before. What guarantee is there that no one sitting in this room will tomorrow join ISIS? These are serious questions. These people who are part of ISIS, they're not dumbos or dodos, or they're not, stoned people who are, I'm ISIS. They are people who make intellectual decisions. They are thinking people, they are educated people. They practice, they conduct themselves in a very coordinated way. The question which you must ask yourself, which I won't have necessarily time to answer here, is what safeguard is in place to make sure, of course, as far as the elder Buzurgs are concerned, you could take every blood of their body out of their body, but they will still stick to the way of their elders. Why? That's the way they've been taught. Isn't it? जो यहाँ बुजुर्ग बैठे हुए हैं, उनको जो मर्जी आए, उनकी रगों में वो आइडेंटिटी अब बैठ चुकी है. अब वो बदलने के मिजाज में नहीं. लेकिन खतरा उस नौजवान को है जो बज़ाहिर दीन को से मोहब्बत भी करता है, दीन पे चलता भी है, but the question is what safeguard is in place to protect him. And the key thing is not to protect him in terms of how much namaz he reads or how much roza he keeps. It's to protect his identity. And identity is based on Aqidah, because Iman is just a concept. What is Iman is determined by? What is Iman is determined by? Masad, there are people who call themselves Muslim, they read kalima, they read namaz, they go to hajj, they do everything that they do. The only one thing is that they believe that Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani was a prophet. Is their Iman acceptable?
No.
Is their Iman acceptable?
No.
Sometimes Iman is like wuzu. Iman is like, maybe I should tell you a joke so that lighten you up a bit, because you're very serious. There was a new student, he qualified, and his asatiza said to him, you lead the Jamaat. बड़ा घबराया पीछे उस्ताद सारे होते रहे. Anyway, after he led perfect namaz, just at the end he did sajda sahv. He did what? He did sajda sahv. One of his teachers pulled him up at the side. He said, excuse me, son, your namaz was perfect. Ye sajda sahv kis khushi thi? He said, Ustad ji, nikki पूरी निकल गई थी. And nikki ज़्यादा नहीं निकली. उस्ताद उसका कि निकी थे छोटी थे बड़ी थे इससे की फर्क है. वजू तो टूट गया ना. ये तो नहीं है कि अगर आप जोर से हवा निकाले तो ज्यादा वजू टूटेगा और अगर कम निकाले तो कम, वजू तो टूट गया ना, वजू तो दोबारा। ईमान की भी हालत है, कभी कभी कुछ ऐसी चीजें हैं कि अगर सारी चीजें मौजूद हो, एक चीज ना हो तो ईमान। So identity is very fragile. It's not based on, yeah, we are Muslims, it's written on my passport. No. It's not what's written on your passport or what's written on your CV or what's written in your council tax bill or what's written in your in your other profiles. It's the fabric of your identity is determined by the fabric of your aqeedah. And the aqeedah has to be perfect for you to be in that membership group. And so therefore, we come to a point now in this discussion where we realize that the greatest threat to us in this day and age is not our conduct, it is our... So what's wrong? Let's just call ourselves Muslim and say we disassociate from ISIS or Al-Qaeda, that's fine, that we've done our job. No. You see, ISIS and Al-Qaeda is, if I could describe it to you in very simple language, this is एक दूध होता है ना, और दूध के बाद होता है मलाई, मलाई से तो जैसे दूध होगा वैसे ISIS, Al-Qaeda or Jaish or whatever they call them, Sahaba or Lashkar-e-Taiba, all these, this is the malai. ये मैं समझाने के लिए आपको कह रहा हूँ, ये है मलाई. But the actual milk from which this product is made, we have to ask ourselves, are we free from drinking that milk? Because it could be that we say, oh no, we hate all of those people. But if we're drinking the same milk, then one day, maybe, we could sympathize with that cause. And we could say, yeah, no, they're fine, it's fine. I'm not one of the apologetic scholars who says there is no concept of jihad in Islam. बहुत बेगैरत लोग हैं जो कहते हैं इस्लाम में जिहाद नहीं है इस्लाम में जिहाद. But इस्लाम में जो निज़ाम जिहाद है उसका एक मेयार है. There is a standard, there is a certain protocol, there is a certain framework of that. It is not the way jihad is done by Al-Qaeda or ISIS. This is not the jihad of Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Jihad है और होगा. जब इमाम महदी आएंगे उस वक्त ये काफी नहीं होगा हमारे लिए कि हम मस्जिद में बैठ के तस्बीह पढ़ें या मदरसे में बैठ के क़ाल अल्लाह क़ाल रसूल पढ़ें. उस वक्त जो जिहाद का मुतालबा होगा वो बरहक होगा. लेकिन उनके आने तक we need to prepare ourselves to defend ourselves from the onslaught against our identity. And that is why today we have gathered here to remember two very renowned personalities who spent their lives as guards to defend the parameters of the house of Islam. That's what they were. They were guards. They were guards. They ensured कि अंदर से कोई बाहर न जाए और बाहर से कोई या अंदर से कोई बाहर न जाए. This is a synopsis of Imam Ahmad Raza. और बाहर से कोई, and this is a synopsis of Salahuddin Ayyubi. Why? Because each God looks at the need of his time. Each God looks at the need of his, जो वक्त की ज़रूरत है. जो बुजुर्ग यहाँ बैठे हैं, जब वो 70s 80s में आए, I remember this mosque itself, मुतालबा देखे नहीं हमारे पास जगह नहीं है, लोग ज़्यादा हैं, मुतालबा हुआ, ज़रूरत हुई, अब अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह वो ज़रूरत पूरी होगी. Now what? अब क्या होगा? Now you have to, अब ये नहीं है कि चले एक और मस्जिद बना लें, एक और मस्जिद. Now you have to, अब इस मस्जिद को आबाद करना है. तो हर दौर की अपनी ज़रूरत देखनी पड़ती है कि what is the need of that time. When we revere our pious predecessors, हमने उनसे खिराजे अकीदत का म्यार ये रखा हुआ है कि हम उनकी बात करते हैं, सुभान अल्लाह, वाह, माशाअल्लाह, और लंगर खा के चले गए. और ये म्यार जो है अब तक तो ठीक है. क्यों? इसके जरिए उनकी याद जिंदा, ईमान जिंदा. लेकिन इस दौर में अशद जरूरी है कि उनकी सिर्फ याद को ना जिंदा रखा जाए, बल्कि उनकी जात और उनके तौर तरीके को भी जिंदा रखा जाए.
बेशक बेशक.
Salahuddin Ayyubi was not the name of an angel. Imam Ahmad Raza was not the name of an angel. They were humans. They came from within. Humans. Kuntum khayra ummah. They were from within. And they realized the needs of their time. And the needs of their time, as far as Salahuddin Ayyubi rahimahullah ta'ala, was that now the integrity of Muslims is being challenged. The integrity of Muslims is being challenged. And that requires defensive action and proactive action. Defense to counter the attack of the enemy, but proactive. For 90 years Masjid-e-Aqsa mein azan nahi hui. Why? Because when the Christian crusaders took over, their sense of freedom, when the Muslims took over, they didn't destroy the churches, they didn't destroy the synagogues, they didn't destroy the places of worship. They said you can carry on doing what you like, pay fidya, and you can live as citizens in this country, no problem. But when the Christians came to power through the Crusades, it was not enough for them to allow Muslims to continue to practice why they wanted to annihilate Muslims and Islam, and so therefore they persecuted Muslims. They committed atrocities of a nature that history had never seen, killing innocent children, women and men for no reason other than the fact that they read La ilaha illallah. And because of that identity, they were the targets. Of course there were people who compromised their identity and they went into kufr, but for 90 years, 90 saal ke liye Masjid-e-Aqsa mein azan nahi hui. Why? Because the Christians said, we cannot tolerate azan is part of your identity, and your identity is a source of threat to us, and the only way we can annihilate you is by killing you and by ensuring that you are not able to endorse and enforce your identity. So Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi rahimahullah ta'ala, he gathered a force that then countered that mission of the Crusades. And I don't need to go into historical data, but you see, the question is, do we simply remember Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi, that he is up there, mashallah, subhanallah, or do we now say to ourselves, where is the Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi today?
No.
Where has he gone today? Of course, what he's done, he's done. But now we need to create that Salahuddin from within ourselves. And that Salahuddin wasn't just a warrior or a soldier. Let me just tell you a bit about him personally. Because you know, one of the things I said in a recent lecture of mine, I said something about Yazid. I said, if you put Yazid, if you shave off all of his titles, who he was, what biladri he belonged to, how much money he had, if you shave him to his chassis. Do you know what that means? If you shave off everything to the chassis, if you just look at Yazid in his chassis, in his original form, just Yazid, you will see as a human being, forget about any mistakes that he made or any wrong that he did, as a human being he was a despicable person. As a human being. Forget anything else. We can say there's many faults. As a human being he was a very despicable person. Not someone who you could look up to and say, as a human being he's a source of inspiration. No. The only reason why he was there where he was because of the politics of his time. The reality is, as a human being, he fell short of that basic standard of being a human. I think it would help if I said it in Punjabi. Yani, Amirul Mu'mineen te, Alim te, Fazil te, bahut dur di gal, bande da putter nahi kha sakya. Insan to like an ordinary, decent human being, he couldn't be. And yet, he proclaimed a profile in the skies that I am this, I am this, I am this. But let's look at Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi as a person. He's from a Kurdish background. And remember, Arabs have a history of discriminating against non-Arabs. This is a hidden fact, I'm sorry to say this. They have a chip on their shoulder. They think that because the Quran is in Arabic, we have an automatic right to be custodians of the book. और मैं अक्सर अपने खिताबात में पूरी दुनिया में ये कहा करता हूँ, अगर अरबी दानी कुरान से हिदायत की ज़मानत होती, अगर अरबी दानी कुरान से हिदायत की ज़मानत होती, तो आज इस दुनिया में कोई अरबी कुरान आपको मिलता. Let me repeat that in English. If knowledge of Arabic was the key to gaining guidance from the Quran, because me and you, when we pick up the Quran, it's a foreign language, isn't it? But for Arabs, it's just like reading a newspaper. It's their language, isn't it? If by knowing Arabic guaranteed you guidance from the Quran, then there would be no Arab in this world who would be misguided. But Quran khole padhe, baat khatam? No. Lekin there are Arabs in this world who are not only misguided by reading the Quran, they read the Quran and they openly defy the Quran. आपको यहूदी अरबी बोलने वाले मिलेंगे जो कुरान फर पढ़ते हैं, आपको ईसाई ऐसे मिलेंगे जो फर कुरान पढ़ते हैं. तो अरबी दानी जो है वो जमानत नहीं है. अगर होती तो आज अरबी को गुमराना होता. So Arabs had this traditional thing, illa mashallah, of course, that they had a chip on their shoulder. They think because we're Arabs and because we've got this accent that we read the Quran in a certain way, we're the best. And that continues till this day also. But in the time of Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi, he was a Kurd. He was from Kurdistan. And his hero, who he used to look up to, was another king. You see, you always have to have a role model, someone who you look up to. And his role model and his hero was a person by the name Nuruddin Zangi, rahimahullah ta'ala. What was his name? Nuruddin Zangi. And he was also a Kurd. और नूरुद्दीन की एक बात बताऊं ताकि अगर आप उस्ताद की एक बात आपके इल्म में आ जाए तो उससे शागिर्द के मियार का पता चलता है कि शागिर्द के अंदर क्या हैसियत होगी. Nuruddin Zangi rahimahullah ta'ala was one of those kings, Waliyullah kings, कि बादशाह भी है और अल्लाह का वली भी बहुत कम गुजरे इस दौर में. और वो ये जो आयत करीमा मैंने पढ़ी है ना, जिसमें अल्लाह अज़्ज़ा व जल हज़रत दाऊद अलैहिस्सलाम को फरमाता है, या दाऊद, ए दाऊद, इन्ना जअलनाका खलीफतन फिल अर्द, हमने ज़मीन में तुम्हें खलीफा बनाया. We made you a खलीफा, viceroy, representative on this earth. फहकुम बैनन नास बिल हक़, लोगों के अंदर इंसाफ के साथ. Conduct your affairs with justice. और याद रखें, इंसाफ मजहब को नहीं देखता, बिरादरी को नहीं देखता. इंसाफ آپ کی شخصیت کو نہیں دیکھتا، انصاف کو صرف انصاف کے اصولوں سے لینا دینا. اس کی میں تھوڑی سی وضاحت آگے جا کے کروں گا. فحکم بین، یہ نہیں دیکھنا یہ کس مذہب سے اس کا تعلق ہے، یہ نہیں دیکھنا یہ کس برادری سے اس کا تعلق ہے، یہ دیکھنا ہے کہ عدل. Human being, you are on one platform. There is no discrimination here. فحکم بین الناس بالحق ولا تتبع الہوا. And this is the missing link today. آج ہمارے اندر قرآن بھی ہے، حدیث بھی ہے، بلکہ حدیث اس طرح ہے جس طرح پہلے دور میں ہمارے بزرگوں کے پاس وہ مواد تھا ہی نہیں. یہ جو یہاں بزرگ بیٹھے ہوئے ہیں، یہ 1970 میں آئے، 70-80 میں آئے، تو اس وقت احادیث کی کتابیں یہاں عام نہیں ملتی تھی، لیکن آج اس کی نسبتاً آپ کو گلی گلی میں کتابیں ملیں گی. ہمارے پاس کتابیں بھی ہیں، ہمارے پاس قرآن بھی ہے، اعمال بھی ہیں، لیکن ہم پھر بھی آج دنیا میں بیکاری بن کے پھرتے ہیں اور بھیک مانگتے ہیں مغرب اور اہل مغرب سے کہ آپ ہمیں تہذیب دیجئے، کیونکہ ہم جہاں سے آئے وہاں کوئی تہذیب، ہم جہاں سے آئے وہاں the rule is the survival of the fittest. آج بھی پاکستان میں چلے جائے وہی حال. It's not what you know, it's who you know. This is the law of the jungle. یہاں اہل مغرب ان کے ہاں یہ نہیں ہے کہ who you know, it's the fact that you are a citizen, you have certain basic rights. تو اب ہمارے ہاں علم بھی ہے، عمل بھی ہے، لیکن ہم اس معیار تک پہنچ نہیں پا رہے. یہاں حضرت داؤد علیہ السلام سے اللہ نے خطاب فرما کے کہا، اے داؤد rule with justice, but وَلَا تَتَّبِعِ الْهَوَىٰ, don't follow your hawa. Don't follow your, what is hawa? Not air, hawa. Hawa means desire. As a human being, you are prone to desires, personal desires. Your nafs ammara will incite you to doing that which is conducive to your cause. It may not be evil in the beginning. Ultimately, whether it's good or bad doesn't matter. Whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. The point is, if you follow your nafs will want to give credence to your hawa, your desire. And the signs of the people of Allah is that they are not servants of their hawa, their desires. Their desires are their servants. وہ اپنے نفس کے غلام نہیں ہے، نفس ان کا غلام ہے. لیکن ہم نے اس ورثے کو بھلا دیا. We are today، ہمارے اندر خدا پرستی تو ہے، لیکن اس خدا پرستی کے ساتھ نفس پرستی بھی ہے، اور ہم نے اس نفس پرستی کے لیے اہتمام چھوڑ دیا. خدا پرستی کر کے ہم سمجھتے ہیں ہم نے اپنی ذمہ داری کو نبھا دیا، لیکن نفس پرستی کے لیے ہم نے اپنی ذمہ داریوں کو محسوس نہیں کیا. ہم جب باہر جاتے ہیں تو نفس پرستی کے علاوہ we feed and we pray to our nafs. And Iqbal said, کر بلبلو طاؤس کی تقلید سے توبہ، کر بلبلو طاؤس کی تقلید سے توبہ، بلبل فقط آواز، طاؤس فقط رنگ. You look at the colors of the West, you look at the glamour of the West. This is only on the outer shell. اندر سے یہ سب خالی ہے. They're empty, they're bankrupt on the inside. اسی لیے مغربیت میں رہنے والے جب اس تہذیب کی بام عروج تک پہنچتے ہیں، وہ پھر بھی متلاشی ہوتے ہیں، پیاسے ہوتے ہیں اس پیاس کی، اس نظام کی جو نظام دنیا میں نہیں ملے گا. اگر وہ ملے گا تو نظام مصطفیٰ میں ملے گا. لیکن جو نظام مصطفیٰ کے متلاشی کے جو پیروکار ہیں، وہ آج اپنی نفس پرستی میں اتنے گمسم ہیں کہ خدا پرستی کر کے وہ سمجھتے ہیں ہم نفس پرستی سے بچ رہیں گے. لیکن the reality is that we have become servants of our nafs. اگر ہمارے نفس کے خلاف کوئی بات ہو جائے، ہم ادھر کی ادھر بات لحاظ نہیں کرتے، میں کون اور تو کون. لیکن جب دین کی بات آتی ہے وہاں بھی ہم جب when it concerns our civil affairs, main kaun aur tu kaun. And when it comes to deen, we say, why should I be loyal to you? What is in it for me? Why should I? But our priorities have changed because our nafs alludes us to all of these forces. Anyway, coming back to this. La tattabi'il hawa. Don't follow your desires. فَيُضِلَّكَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. They will take you away from the way of Allah. So, Salahuddin Ayyubi, if you look at him as a human being, and you look at how he was as a human being, number one, you will find generosity in him, in the colors of Muhammadur Rasulullah. And generosity is not a measure that you use as a benchmark to see how generous is a father to his son. बाप ने तो बेटे पे शफीक होना ही है ना, रिश्ता ऐसा है. If you want to test someone's generosity, it's not whether he is generous to someone who is eligible to generosity. ठीक है ना? आपका किसी दोस्त के साथ अच्छा ताल्लुक है, आप उसके साथ generosity, उसके साथ you're generous with him, बात बनती है ना? But generosity, and the true test of generosity, is to someone who is not worthy of generosity. That is why when Hazrat Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi conquered Jerusalem, now the Christians, they thought this is the end. He will repay and he will do upon us what we did upon him. We slaughtered Muslim children, he will slaughter Christian children. We slaughtered Muslim women, he will do the same. We imprisoned their men, he will do the same. And when the Christian women came to Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi and said, we are spineless, our men are imprisoned, we have nothing, we are conquered, Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi dealt with them in the ayn, in the constitution of Muhammadur Rasulullah. Go, you are free. Go, you are free. Here. And some of them didn't have money. He gave them money. Here, go. Take it. So the point I'm trying to make is that Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi gave generosity where generosity wasn't deserved. But this is the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Be generous to your enemy. So even your enemy says, and many non-Muslims, when they observe the generosity of Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi, they automatically came into Islam and read La ilaha illallah. हमारे यहाँ तो यार ये हो चुका है कि generosity, yes, we will give generosity if it is politically viable. हम अपनी सियासत को पहले रखते हैं, और अगर हमारी सियासत के आईन में generosity है, then we're generous. And if it's not, we say, there's an old Punjabi saying, "Wah pe jaane te ra pe jaane." Why should I be nice to you? Why should I even give you a smile? You are not part of my journey. But no, al-hubbu lillah wal-bughzu lillah, love for Allah and hate for Allah. By Sultan Salahuddin demonstrating such akhlaq, such standard of civility, many Christians became Muslim just by that one conduct of his. Then he wasn't just a ruler, he used to spend his nights in the tilawat of the Quran. Today we take this for granted, we say yeah, tilawat of Quran, yeah. हमने सिर्फ कुरान को सवाब और ईसाले सवाब के लिए रखा हुआ है, सवाब और ईसाले. कोई फौत हो जाए तो कुरान निकाले, गैर बख्शना है, ठीक है, इसमें कोई अर्ज नहीं है, बिल्कुल मरहब के बजाय. और वैसे मूड आया तो चलो थोड़ी सी तिलावत कर लें. But the purpose of the revelation of the Quran wasn't limited to सवाब और ईसाले सवाब. हमने आज कुरान से ताल्लुक जो था वो खत्म हमारा हो गया. सुल्तान सलाहुद्दीन अय्यूबी, ना कोई दिन ऐसा कि जिस दिन में उनकी आंख कुरान की ज़ियारत नहीं करती, और ना कोई रात ऐसी जिस रात में उनकी आंख कुरान की ज़ियारत करती. कुरान के साथ एक दोस्ती, एक ताल्लुक, एक नाता था. और जहां बैठते कुरान पढ़ो, तिलावत करो. कुरान सुनो समझो सुनाओ, and he had this passion. और उलमा के लिए उन्होंने ऐसा एहतमाम किया हुआ था कि जो आलिम था उसकी एक इज्जत थी, एक आबरू थी, एक म्यार था। आज अगर आप हिंदुस्तान के एक नौजवान से कहें कि आप आलिम बनना चाहते हैं, तो ये कहेगा नो थैंक यू। Why? आलिम बन के क्या होगा? What are my job prospects by being an alim? No thank you, I'd rather just do other jobs. The study of deen does not revolve around the imamat of a mosque. The study of deen revolves around understanding and implementing the colors of Muhammad Rasulullah. That is why Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi gave a lot of importance to knowledge. He himself used to sit in the gatherings of knowledge. He used to promote ulama. He gave ulama a status. He gave ulama a privilege in society. Today, unfortunately, I'm not talking about this mosque. आज हमारी मसाजिद में ऐसी मस्जिद है, the dustbin cleaner earns more than your local alim. The dustbin cleaner earns more than the local alim. And forget about dustbin cleaner, you could earn more stacking baked beans in Tesco than being a local alim. Because at least you'll get minimum pay there. There are many ulama who don't even get minimum pay. Why? Because it's looked down upon. It's said, what's the big deal? There's no big deal about this. But the reality is, Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi gave a sense of importance to the knowledge of deen, that put these ulama on a certain threshold and let them serve deen so that they don't have to worry about dunya. Then, in his own conduct as a person, very seldom in his life did he miss Ba'jamaat namaz. You know, we say Sultan Salahuddin was this, but what made him what he became? It was his conduct, his sohbah, his company. Nuruddin Zangi was his ideal and his hero. I was about to tell you something about Nuruddin Zangi, and then I got slightly distracted. Nuruddin Zangi, वो इस म्यार के अल्लाह के दोस्त थे कि दो यहूदियों ने हमला करने की कोशिश की जसद मुस्तफ़ा सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम में. Two Jews tried to extract the body of the Prophet ﷺ from Gumat al-Khazan, where he's buried today, and they built a tunnel underneath from their house all the way to the house of Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu anha. So the Prophet ﷺ came in the dream of Nuruddin Zangi and said, Nuruddin, Otto, wake up. He was in Damascus. Nuruddin, wake up. There are two Jews, they are building a tunnel under my, from their house to my grave, and they want to extract my body. Nuruddin Zangi woke up in the morning. He thought, I don't know what the ta'bir of this dream is, and he just forgot it. The next day, the Prophet ﷺ again came into his dream and said, Nuruddin Zangi, go! My body is being the subject of a conspiracy. They want to remove my body. And again Nuruddin Zangi woke up and he said, Pata nahi is khwab ki kya ta'bir hai? On the third night, Nuruddin Zangi had the same dream. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to him, Nuruddin, go to Medina Munawwara. He said, Ya Rasulullah, but I'm dreaming. Ya Rasulullah, I am milke bole na. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Nuruddin, he slapped him on his head. And Nuruddin woke up. When he woke up, in front of him was Rasulullah. In front of him was Rasulullah. Nuruddin, this isn't a dream. I'm telling you, go to Medina Munawwara. So he went to Medina Munawwara and he, long story, he said, I want to identify everyone who is in this, because the Prophet ﷺ showed him the picture of those Jews. He showed them exactly how they look and their body and their image. Nare Takbir, Nare Risalat, Ulama Ahl-Us-Sunnah. So I will now wrap up my discussion because I've gone on a slight voyage of discovery. So Nuruddin Zengi went and he identified them, and then anyway he killed them. And his student and his disciple was Hazrat Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi. When he went, he conducted himself. Oh, by the way, when Nuruddin Zengi destructed that tunnel that had already reached the body of the Prophet ﷺ, he touched the body of Rasulullah ﷺ. Why? Because there is Sahih Hadith, and it is the belief of the Ahl-Us-Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Inna Allah harrama ala al-ardi an ta'kula ajsad al-anbiya. Or kama qala alayhi salatu wasalam. That it is haram for the earth to touch the body of prophets. Haram, haram. Hurmatu hillat ka fatwa. Hurmatu hillat ka fatwa mukallaf पे होता है. जो मुकल्लिफ ही ना हो उस पे फतवा क्या? इन्ना अल्लाह हर्रमा अलल अर्द. अल्लाह ने जमीन के लिए हराम. ये हुर्मत और हिल्लत का ताल्लुक जमीन के साथ? Yes, because he is the prophet of even the zameen. He knows what is halal for the zameen and he knows what is haram for the zameen. Hurmat or hillat. Anyway, yeah, let that also be. But when Nuruddin Zengi touched the body of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his hand radiated so much light. वो एक यदे बैदा कुरान में जिसका जिक्र. But this Nuruddin Zengi had another white hand. People used to travel hundreds of miles to do the ziyarah of the hand of Nuruddin Zengi. अगर नूरुद्दीन ज़ंगी के अंदर कोई खारिजियत होती, he would have destroyed the tunnel and he would say job done. But he wasn't part of the Khawarij. Why? Because in the first place Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would have come to him. And when he came to him, he knew, I'm coming to someone, a product that is the correct product. That is why when Nuruddin Zengi found the chance, he didn't say, acha, 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 bas, thoro, cover it up. He touched it. Why? He knows the value of tabarruk, of the body of Rasulullah. He knows the value of tabarruk. Nuruddin tabarruk ke sabak se ashna the. That is why. And his student and his disciple was Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi, who defended Islam at a time from an enemy that wanted to destroy Islam coming from the outside. बाहर का दुश्मन अंदर को तबाह करना चाहता था. सलाहुद्दीन ने बाहर के दुश्मन को बाहर ही रखा. और इमाम अहमद रजा ने, his miyar was what did I tell you in the beginning? कि जो अंदर का हो उसको बाहर ना जाने दिया जाए, और जो बाहर का हो उसको, जो बाहर का हो, this was Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi, और जो अंदर का हो, this was the Sheva of Imam Ahmad Raza. That if you are a true ummati of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then this is your benchmark. If you fall short of this benchmark, then you are no longer part of the club of the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. किसका दिल नहीं चाहता कि इत्तेहाद और इत्तेफाक हो? किसका दिल नहीं चाहता कि मुस्लिम कौम मजबूत रहे? But वो मजबूती, that strength that is flawed from its foundation, one day will fall. Building चाहे जितनी भी कीमती हो, चाहे जितनी भी खूबसूरत हो, if the foundations have become weak, आज नहीं तो कल, कल नहीं तो it will fall. Imam Ahmad Raza rahimahullah ta'ala could have thought, why should I bother with this? I can sit at home and I can write my fatawas and I can carry on my life. But no, he waged war to ensure that the true identity of the true ummati of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is preserved. And in that time, it was necessary because इन्हीं बातों से मैं अपनी बात का finalize because Hazrat Qibla Mufti Sahib has come. The British Raj knew that they could not destruct the integrity of the Ummah by simply fragmenting them into nation states. They knew that nation states and fragmentation there, this is the first step. But the real way to misalign, the real thrust of Islamic thinking is by misaligning them in their relationship with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. My grandfather, rahimahullah ta'ala, Hazrat Munazir Azam, Muhammad Umar Ishami rahmatullah used to say, जो तजर्बाकार चोर है, professional चोर, वो चोरी से पहले दो चीज़ों का एहतमाम करता है. In those days, not in these days. आज का चोर जरा उसका म्यार कुछ मुख्तलिफ है. He says, चोर दो तारे काटता है आने से पहले. एक बिजली की तार. No electricity, no light. No light, you can come and do what you like. एक बिजली की तार और दूसरा टेलीफोन की तार. Why? You can't pick up the phone and dial. It doesn't make a difference in those countries anyway. It depends if your account is up to date with the local police station. If you know what I mean. It's not who makes the call, it's where the call comes from. But Hazrat Munazir used to say कि जो प्रोफेशनल चोर है वो दो तारे काटता है, बिजली की और टेलीफोन की. I say आज के दौर में नहीं, क्योंकि आज के दौर में टेलीफोन वो now it's mobile phones. But he used to say that when the British Raj wanted to sever the link between the ummati as a true ummati and raid the house of Islam, he cut two wires. One wire was the wire that linked the ummati with his Nabi. जो उम्मती का नबी के साथ एक बंधन, एक ताल्लुक है, उसको तोड़ने की कोशिश की. Number one. Number two, the wire that connected the ummati with the awliya. Those awliya were the people who were able to synchronize the ummati with the Nabi. And that is the movement of Wahhabism. That forget Anbiya and awliya. All you need is Quran and Sunnah, practice this, and that is enough. But no, Salahuddin Ayyubi rahimahullah ta'ala, whatever he was a fan of the awliya. What was he? He was a fan of the awliya. Someone came to him on his last breath and said, "Sir, you fought so many, you did so much jihad, but you now die without being a shaheed? Couldn't you have prayed that the sword would touch your neck? Couldn't you have done dua that the sword would touch your neck?" Salahuddin smiled. He said, "How can the sword touch my neck? Why? On this neck has been the hand of Sayyidina Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani. How can the sword ever touch this neck?" So Salahuddin Ayyubi was a great fan of awliya. And Imam Ahmad Rada rahimahullah ta'ala, his whole mission revolved around, if you want to be part of this club, these are the rules, these are the criteria. If you fall short of this criteria, you are no longer part. He created that wall to ensure that there is a clear distinction, so that वो दूध जो आज मलाई बन के आइसिस और अल-कायदा की शक्ल में हमारे सामने है, वो दूध बाहर के खतरनाक है. And that milk is made from the colors and the flavors and the ingredients of Khariji thinking. And when Khariji thinking reached the shores of Hindustan through the help of the British Raj, the first person to embrace it was Ismail Delhi. And Ismail Delhi was a politician. He was interested in his own agenda. He wasn't interested in the integrity of Iman. He wasn't interested in the integrity of Aqidah. आपकी इत्तला के लिए one of his students, Rashid Ahmad Ambedwi and Khalil Ahmad Ambedwi and Rashid Ahmad Gangohi, they both studied at Bahawalpur. ये दोनों हज़रात बहावलपुर में पढ़े और इनके एक क्लास फेलो थे, उनका इसमें गिरामी हज़रत ख्वाजा गुलाम दस्तगीर सिद्दीकी रहमतुल्लाह अलैह, वो हमारे यानी जद्द अमजद में से हमारे दादा के दादा, तो वो ये साथ पढ़े, इकट्ठे पढ़े। तो जब ये मौलाना रशीद अहमद गंगोई ने इस्माइली देहलवी का मजहब और मौक़िफ़ अपनाया, तो he said Maulana, why are you deviating from the path of the Ahl-Us-Sunnah, which has been established for so many years? Their response was that for us, Ismail Devi and his mission is more important. And what was that? On the face of it, it was to create an Islamic state, but the real objective was to import Wahhabi doctrines into Hindustan. So he did munazara with them on many aspects of Aqidah. At that time he did munazara on one topic, Imkane Kizm. And this was the first munazara with the ulama of Deoband, which was done in writing, and that the tahrir of that munazara is still available today in book form. It is called Taqdeesul Wakil an Raddir Rashid wal Khalil. And this written munazara was done many hundreds of years ago with them. But the point I'm trying to make is that for them, politics was more important than the preservation of Iman. Imam Ahmad Raza, rahimahullah ta'ala, is not the name of a politician. He didn't have any political agenda. His goal was not to participate in the political process. His agenda was to counter the attack of the Wahhabi onslaught upon Hindustan, which, although on the face of it sounded very watered down. हम हनफी हैं, हम मुक़ल्लिद हैं, we are Maturidi हैं, हम Ash'ari हैं, we are part of the same framework. But that injection that was given slowly penetrated in their system. And the beauty was that when that injection penetrated, when they committed atrocities, they said, no, these are not atrocities. You know, like the munafiqeen, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ قَالُوا إِنَّمَا. They said, we are muslihun, we are peacemakers. So when the people were told that you are committing acts that violate the terms of your iman, they said, no, there's nothing wrong with this. What is wrong with this? And Imam Ahmad Rada, in the most politest of manners, said to them that if you cross this line, if you don't retract from that, then you are going out of that boundary, and it is my job as the guard, as the designated guard by Sayyidina Ghasul Azam rahimahullah ta'ala, to defend this fortress. If you go beyond that line, then I will declare war upon you. It wasn't politically viable for him to do so, nor was Imam Ahmad Raza at the helm of a huge institution, nor was he the helm of a huge jama'ah. He was on his own. But the movement that he started was to preserve the true caliber of Iman and Aqidah that he had inherited from the Salaf Salihin. And that is why today we remember him, not just to say thank you very much, but we remember him so that we can follow his ways and preserve our Iman and preserve the fabric of our Iman. And his sense of justice, like the sense of justice of Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi, wasn't that I will do justice because based on my tenets. No. When Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi was summoned by a non-Muslim in court, he didn't send his representative. He attended court himself, and he used to defend his own. He defended his own matter. And when he won the case, he didn't look at the person who lost the case with contempt. He said, why did you bring this case against me, knowing who I am, knowing that I am the king? He said, actually, I thought I would try my luck because I knew who you were. And I thought maybe if I could win the case, I would profit as a result of this. Salahuddin Ayyubi said, if that was your objective, here are some dirhams, go and take this money. Why? Your objective was money, you came for money. And here, even though you've lost the case, here you can have that money. When Salahuddin Ayyubi passed away, when he passed away, there wasn't enough money for his funeral. This is a king. Aaj ke aap hukamranon ko dekhiye. They've got so much money that they don't know how much money they've got themselves. If they counted all their lives, they won't have enough life to count their money. That's how much money they've got. But if you look at the paradox of Imam Ahmad Rada, rahimahullah ta'ala, I had the honor and the privilege of looking at doing ziyarah of one of his kurtas. You know kurta? Agar hamara kurta phat jaye, so we change it. We don't wait, we change it. But I did ziyarah of the kurta of Imam Ahmad Rada rahimahullah ta'ala. And I saw on the kurta, just on one side, there were 17 places, 18 places where he repaired it himself.
Oh, subhanallah. Subhanallah.
Faqat. This is the way of Salahuddin Ayyubi. This is the way of Imam Ahmad Rada. We have lost this missing link. La tattabi'il hawa. We are slaves of our desire. Salahuddin Ayyubi was not a slave of his desire was his slave. Imam Ahmad Rada rahimahullah ta'ala was not a slave of his desire was his slave. So my message to you today is, let us learn their ways, the way of faqr, the way of poverty which they conduct themselves with, and they as human beings were revered. They were, even if you take Imam Ahmad Rada as a human being, the standard of him as a human being is far, far higher than the standard of an ordinary human being today. Why? His protocols as a human being was high, but unfortunately today we read La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. We profess ourselves to be part of the right aqidah, but our conduct still falls short of that conduct of our pious predecessors. May Allah allow us the opportunity to follow in their ways in our life in the dunya, so that we can be united with them in the akhirah. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ.